Heresy Thursday, Legion Overseers, show humans how it's done. Right, so again, continuing with the Heresy Thursdays, we have had a fantastic run, so I'm expecting one hell of a dry spell during the new year. We have the Loyalist Legion Overseer. For those of you who don't know, the Overseer is a console HQ choice that was released with the Battle of Beta Garmon expansion. The Overseer effectively is an Astarte who is placed in command of a series of mortals. He can take either a unit of Solar Auxilia or he can take units of Militia, with all the options that come within. In total, these guys can end up taking like 60 extra guys as their retinue, and it's a very thematic way to take Solar Auxilia and Militia forces as kind of allies without using up, an allied slot, as it were, or giving you extra allied slots, which is really useful. They can also be utterly hilarious. For example, the Thousand Suns, you can take one and give him, I can't remember how they say it, Biomancy. They give him Biomancy, stick him in a unit of Solar Auxilia and make them like Toughness 4, Strength 4, and then their Strength 5 on the charge because they've got their bayonets and everything. Which for a unit of 20 guys is hilarious. So, onto the model itself. It is a very strange model, in my opinion. Everyone who I've spoken to about it seems to have come to the same conclusion. This is a chaplain. It certainly has an awful lot of the visual cues of a chaplain. Painting it as an Imperial Fist and painting it black together is a bit weird because of the fact that the Imperial Fists have black in their colour scheme quite a lot. The fact that it is painted black symbol and with his sort of symbol of office with this ornate power maul is very, very similar to a Crozius Arcanum. All in all, the model screams chaplain. The only thing that really kind of throws it away as being something different is this icon on the banner. The icon on the banner is a throwback to the Rogue Trader era. There is an image of a Space Wolves field police officer. And that is what became these characters were inspired by that. And also the chaplains were inspired by it in a way. They were the proto-chaplains. They were discipline masters for the Space Wolves especially. They were basically how they were kept in line. The Blood Angels used them quite heavily, and they eventually evolved into the, I'm going to butcher the name, it's like Offering Court, who kept an eye out for the Red Thirst and kept that under wraps. They were probably used as pinatas in the Night Lords, just hung up by their feet and beaten with sticks. But they would have been present in every single legion in some way, shape or form. Now, this model's design is rather ornate, so it suits certain legions more than others, in my opinion. I think people like the 3rd Legion are going to get a lot of work out of this. I don't think legions like the Space Wolves are going to really be using it that much. I also don't think some legions like Death Guard or even some of the ones like the Ultramarines I don't think would look particularly great with this model. I may be wrong, but there's a lot of detail going on. And there's some strange bits here. These appear to be medallions or some sort of brooch kind of decoration linked together by leather straps. There's very similar designs on the plastic Traitor. However, if you look down here, they're incredibly thick at the bottom and seem to blend into the chest. That is going to be because of the way they're sculpted digitally, and they didn't want to cut out the mould. It's a poor design. If you can't do that, if you won't do them as separate pieces, don't do them. It probably would have looked better without them, if I'm going to be brutally honest. I personally prefer my Marines a bit plainer when it comes to things like that. But again, lots of skull motif on this guy, which is very heavy, leaning towards chaplains. Again, the skull motif really generally starts to crop up after the death of the Emperor, because it's the symbol of his sacrifice, his visage, and it is worn a lot by the chaplains, most notably their skull helm. So talking about the helmet, we do have a rather interesting Mark VI helmet, because it's rather interesting because it's not the typical sort of conical beak, it's more of a flat bill. Almost sort of somewhere between Mark IV and Mark VI. It's very strange. I'm not sure I like it or dislike it. It looks like he's going to be part... It looks like if the Muppets made a Space Marine and you'd see them, and then when they talked, the whole beak opened. That's what it kind of looks like to me. I like the laurels. I'm not a big fan of the horsehair crest and the laurels together. I think it just makes the head too busy, and I don't think the painting is great for the head. You've got red, blue, green, yellow, or gold, and then black and white in there, and silver. I mean, that's far too many colours in one place. But again, the red helmet is a callback to that Rogue Trader image, which showed the field police officer with a red beaky helmet. The details on the wrap and the weapon are good. The usual armour details are fine. It's interesting that he's got very Mark IV styled elbow pads. The blending on the tabard's a bit rough. But yeah, all in all, it's not a bad model per se. I'll be interested to see how it comes together, like how the model is cut up. Hopefully things like the shoulder pads are separate. Hopefully there is a whole head there. We do have two helmet or two head options, and the bare head's pretty good. He is on a tactical rock, which I know some people really dislike. I'm not a big, no problem with it. What else can I say about this? It's interesting that he's armed with a plasma pistol. You don't often see that nowadays with a lot of the modern Forge World stuff, as far as I can remember. A lot of the time they're given combi weapons, Volkites, that sort of thing, because they're a little harder to get a hold of. Other than that, I like the back banner. Always been a fan of a bit of a back banner. And yeah. Okay, he's going to be a resin model, and down here they tell us that the Traitor version is going to be coming soon. We've seen the Traitor version. He is included in the Beta Garment book as a piece of artwork. He has a whip and a helmet that is very similar to the Word Bearers. I nearly said World Bearers. Word Bearers Mark VI champion head. That is an image of him. There is also an image from the Horus Heresy Legions game where he's got a slightly different style whip. The whip or lash is definitely an iconic piece of equipment for this sort of unit, so it would be very strange to not see him. However, a whip in resin is going to be kind of uncool, because unless he's holding it all wound up in a circle, which he very well might do, there is a good chance it's just going to break. Long, thin tubes like that are only supported on one end are notoriously brittle and easy to break in resin, unfortunately. But maybe you don't like this model. Maybe you don't like the idea of a Traitor one. Maybe you want to build your own. Well, it's not as hard as you'd think, because there is very little special about this model. The Overseer can generally take pretty much anything war gear related. There is nothing special about his war gear, and frankly, you can convert the one with a whip quite easily. There's a great whip on the Escher set from Necromunda, which I'm sure if you've got a friend who plays Necromunda, you'll be able to trade bits for. And the Maul is just a mace. We get several maces in multiple weapon upgrades kits, and yeah. So I'm also going to include at the end of this video my own Overseer. I have an Overseer in my Night Lord's army, which leads a section of militia armed with like stub carbines. And yeah, you'll just see what I've done for that as well. Maybe that'll give you some inspiration. It's nothing fancy. Yeah, so let me know what you think. Are you excited for this model? Are you looking forward to next week's? Do you think we're going to have a big dry spell after the new year? I think we are. I think we're eating too good at the moment to be to keep this up. I think this is our splash of resin over the Christmas period to tide us over while we don't get much during the first half of next year. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts on this character. Do you like it? Will you be picking it up? Will you be waiting till it's in China like I am? Alright guys, as always, thank you very much for watching, and if you guys have any questions or suggestions, pop them down below and I'll be happy to answer. Alright guys, have a great day. Bye bye.